So that was a great moment, never to be forgotten, America. Okay, so this is a foreigner in the Philippines. So I thought I'd do another personal experiences in my life of great moments never to be forgotten. Now, these great moments never to be forgotten are not always, they're not always of great recognition, of the adulation of millions. Sometimes they just are meaningful situations which leave a mark on the soul or on the heart. And I'm all for that, something which touches you deeply and that you never forget. Well, here I am, a lot too many years that I want to go into, and I'll never forget when, during my life as a musician, the one thing that I'd really wanted, and this is a strange thing, I wanted to do something other than what I was good at. And this apparently is a malady that many people, even incredibly accomplished, famous people, people who are famous for doing things like Luciano Pavarotti, he wanted to be something else. I don't think it was a plumber or an electrician or anything like that, probably a painter or something. He wanted to be something else. A lot of great actors want to be something else. Many actors turn to painting. Let me see, Stallone is a painter, and an accomplished painter, Sylvester Stallone. And there are other people who have that same thing. But some of them were great musicians who wanted to play another instrument. For instance, I love the guitar. I always have a beautiful guitar in my possession, always. And one of the first things that I did when I came over to the Philippines was to buy a beautiful guitar. Beautiful Philippine-made guitar. I think from the jackfruit tree, I'm not quite sure, which coincidentally I'd owned one guitar made by a Filipino luthier, and it was from the jackfruit tree. So this one, beautiful, and I still have it. It's a beautiful guitar. Now, I very quickly realised I would give anything to play the guitar, just anything. Well, except one thing: time. And that's what you've got to do. To play an instrument, you have to be willing to give up time. Here's the other thing. I was never able to explain this easily to someone who was learning. You have to love the learning part of learning. Because when you're learning to play an instrument, I don't think that there is another single thing that you can do that requires so much dedicated repetition. Like, people don't realize, somebody says, oh yes, well I was playing my scales, and they might listen to a piano player or somebody learning piano in an apartment on the other side of the square, and they're plunking away doing all of their scales. Now, there are many scales, and in learning all of your scales, you learn how to traverse your way over the instrument and to be able to express yourself moving from one note to another. So there you are, and you have to love it. You have to love this kind of practice just for itself and know every one of your scales. So there you are, you're going do 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 do, and then you do it in a running way. Do 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 do. There's just so many combinations of things that you have to do. Well, one of the things that I remember when I came out of the army, I was determined that I would be a great trombone player, and I was actually quite talented, naturally talented, but really in my heart of hearts I actually wanted to be a singer. But here's one of my unforgettable moments, which probably would only mean a lot to someone who played an instrument, and probably a brass instrument. I decided that I should go to the best possible teacher, and I went to someone called Dennis Wick. And Dennis Wick has become an icon. He was my hero in straight music. Now, by straight music, I don't mean non-gay music. I mean music which is of a classical nature, right? So they're called, in music, by musicians, they're called straight players. And I decided that I would go to this man. I'd arrived in London. I was actually out of work, but I had a little money, and I decided that I would go and pay a fifth of what would later become my wages just to have one lesson with Dennis Wick. And when I went and played to him, I played out of the LaFosse tutor, the second part LaFosse tutor. He asked me to play something for him, and I'd taken my LaFosse there, and I played one of the exercises out of the LaFosse, which was extremely difficult, and which you had to be pretty skillful in order to be able to do. And he paid me a great compliment. He said, well, we're talking about an icon now, okay? We're talking about someone who has become a legendary figure. He has a mouthpiece that's named after him. You might, if you're a trombone player or a trumpet player, you might be playing on a Dennis Wick mouthpiece. Well, there I was, standing in front of the man himself, and I played for him. And he said, yes, well, you're playing some quite clever things there. He said, but if you were to play second trombone to me, if only, he said, I would expect you to have a bigger sound. And he recommended that I change my trombone. I later changed it back because blowing the bigger trombone just seemed like too much work, because I was playing in a top 40 band, not in an orchestra. He was talking about orchestral playing. But to illustrate what he was talking about sound, he took his instrument from the stand and he played one note. And that one note has remained in my mind ever since. It was beautiful. And I was just overwhelmed. I just thought, how can something that I've been plunking away at for a few years sound so incredibly beautiful with just one note? Well, it did. And that was my, I think I may have had, it may have been my only lesson, because it was actually £6. It cost me £6. My first real job, I got about £18, so it was like the first one was, it was like a third of my wages. Other people said, why didn't you go to a cheap teacher? Well, I wanted to go to the best, and I've never regretted it. And I got my £6 worth. So that's my my great moment, never to be forgotten in music, or one of them. There will be others, and I'll share them with you. This is A Foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for listening in.